All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this evening or this morning, wherever you're at in the world. And I thought what we would talk about is talk about meditation. Now, my question is, do you meditate? Hey, everybody. Let me lower this down. Do you meditate now? So if you do, type in the chat bar. And I think there's this big misconception about meditation. And I hear people all the time tell me, like, how do I meditate? How do I learn to meditate? And I think that's probably the wrong question. See, if you're going to meditate, I think you're going to do it or you don't know you're doing it for one of two reasons. You either want to remove something or gain something, right? I mean, otherwise, why are you sitting down? If you want to gain something, then you're under the personal interpretation that you don't have it, and you're hoping you're going to find it in this silence moment. And if you're trying to remove something, normally you can't process it because it's cluttering up your mind. So you try to sit in this state of meditation. And I think the different thing to think about is, why do you want to meditate? And is that the thing that will solve the problem? Right? Because you see people, they all the times in different circles that I'm around, they say, "Oh, I've been meditating for 30 years." And I'm like, okay, you just got done saying your life is miserable, your career is miserable, your relationship's miserable, but you've been meditating. All right, so I guess congratulations on the meditation, but maybe that's not the right thing to do. Now, I'm not saying meditation does not hold a place at all. I'm just saying, is it holding the place of what you need to move you forward and why you're thinking you need to do it or why you're doing it in the first place? Now, I've done a lot of different types of meditations for over 3 decades. I posted a picture before of a meditation. I mean, I've done silent meditations, I've done moving meditations, I've done meditations in the dark, meditation in the light, meditation in noise, meditation looking at candles, and everywhere in between. And what I find most helpful is, instead of calling it meditation, because a lot of people have this word meditation, but they don't know what it is. They don't know what they want it to be for them. Why don't you just call it a sense of space? Why don't we do that? And we just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go find space, because the next thing is, like, my instructor taught me many years ago. I mean, this is almost 3 decades ago. He said, I'm going to teach you something to do. It's going to be the easiest thing to do, and you'll never do it. And I was like, what is it? He says, meditation. So I said, well, what does it look like? He goes, watch. And then he goes, do you want to see it again? And I was like, Sensei, I didn't see anything. He's like, oh, let me show you again. Did you get it that time? And I'm like, I'm so confused. And that's where he broke all paradigms of everything I thought that I knew from watching Kung Fu movies and videos and all these reading books about meditation. He said, meditation is nothing more than a space that you make a decision to be in that space or think a certain way within that space. He said, it could be a minute, it could be a day, it could be for years. And it could be moving, it could be sitting still. Now, because most of us as children, we were sitting there and we watched movies or something, and you had people, and maybe they were chanting, Om Mani Padme or something. Maybe they were doing a chant. And all of these can be ways to get to the space that you want. But first, you got to know that it's space that you're creating. The second thing you got to think about is, why do I want to enter that space? What am I trying to do? Am I trying to remove something or gain something? Now, what I found out is, most of the time, people are going into the space to remove something. You tell me in the chat bar if this makes sense or not. Say, I want to meditate because I want to remove stress. I want to calm down. I want to focus on my health. I want to focus on breathing. I want to find clarity in my mind. I want to silence the chatter in my mind. So they're actually going to space because they want to remove something. But normally it's not that easy to remove it. You have to identify why it's there in the first place. So if you sit there and you decide that you're going to do a standing in space, or you're going to find, that's why, did you ever notice that some of the greatest clarity that you have and greatest ideas that you have and greatest harmony you have is sometimes when you're taking a shower. Like the minute I hit the shower, all of a sudden I'm like, boom, there it comes. Another idea, another creation, another thing that I want to do. Well, first, there's no distractions in there. So there's no children trying to, well, unless you have little kids, right? There's no children trying to distract you. You don't have your cell phone in there, or your iPhone, Apple Watch and stuff in there. So you have this space, and then you're hitting with the element of water. A lot of people, when they all of a sudden they hit a beach and they sit there and they look out at the ocean, all of a sudden, boom, they get clarity of mind. So when you think about this meditation, let's think of it and maybe reframe it as, instead of meditation, space, a space that I'm looking to either remove or find. Let's go to the find, knowing that nothing's lost. You're just looking to be reminded of it. And then if you're looking to remove something, you have to understand, when they say go deeper, a lot of times going deeper won't reprogram what's happening to you, what's running in your mind over and over. So how many of you, well, first off, I'd be so curious in the chat bar, anybody that's watching this or the replay, how many of you have meditated, we'll use that term, consistently for a long period of time, and whatever you went there for to silence your mind, you did it for years, every day, multiple times for years, and you silenced your mind? It's probably going to be very, very few people that do that, because what's happening is, in the space, the mind runs more because you shut out everything else. Now, if you know how to process the mind or redirect the mind or reprogram the mind, yeah, you could go there. Well, I'm going to tell you, a lot of people could be meditating 30 years and they're still trying to get past the anxiety, the trauma, the guilt, the personal judgments. They're still trying to get through all of those things. So here's what I want to share with you. One, if you're going to go for space, have an agenda for it. Okay? Have it. The second thing is, if you don't know how to solve the problem, why go into space to solve it if a lot of other people have solved it already? If somebody can shortcut that solution for you, why not ask them for the shortcut? Hey, raise your hand. By the way, is anybody dealing with a situation like this? I want to learn how to remove it so that I can sit in a space and be able to find new things or new ideas or new creations. Now, this is getting a little more difficult to get that space of what you would call maybe that serenity space or silent space or space for you to grow in, because right now, there's everything making noise, clicking, buzzing, beeping, right? And then you have the distractions of your regular life. And then you have the distractions of all your things that you have on your tasks for every day, from getting the food and then taking care of the family, and then you're doing your career, and then you're focusing on your health. So what are you taking away from this? Now, for some of you, I just twisted you all up because you're sitting there going, well, wait a minute. I've been meditating. I've been humming. I've been sitting there. I've been listening. But you haven't had an agenda. So what happens is you come out and you're like, I watch this all the time. People do meditation, like, wow, that was amazing. 10 minutes later, there I am. I'm stuck back in the chaos. So that's a vicious cycle. That's like Groundhog Day. It's like, oh, serenity, chaos, serenity, chaos. And you keep coming back to chaos. Well, that's kind of insanity if you keep thinking you're going to keep going back there and things are going to change. So, what about if we just practice this over just the next couple of days? Why don't we just practice being present in the moment? And instead of looking at things and saying yes or no, good or bad, judging either way, why don't we just sit here in the moment and try it now and just accept what's happening here? Like, if you were just present right now, feel the temperature on your arm right now. Is it hot? Is it cold? Is there any breeze? See, the first sequence of being able to go deeper, of finding a deeper self, to connecting to yourself is to be present, is to be aware, is to sit here and just settle in a second and just see if you could feel the hair that's on the top of your head or the hair on your arms. Like be present enough to look and go, oh, wow, I have veins here. I never looked at those veins. Or look at the wall and go, okay, there's a scratch there. The more present you can become, the more things you're going to be able to solve. Because when you're present without the judgments of it, now I can make a new decision. Now I can look at it in a new way. So, what I'd like for you to do is just start to practice that. And you know what? You don't need a training, you don't need a manual. You just need a sense of being committed to yourself just to go, okay, let me try this. You're driving, just settle into the driving. You're walking, settle into the walking. All right, that's what I have for you guys tonight.